Hello there everyone, yesterday was a huge day for us Animal Crossing fans. Not only did we get a title and release date for the new game, Animal Crossing New Horizons, we got a very quaint overview trailer as well as a 30-minute long Treehouse live gameplay session. Today, what I want to do is break down the trailer scene by scene with my thoughts and explain what I think the game will bring to the table, as well as go over the big parts of the Treehouse Live section that explains some questions that the trailer leaves us. The trailer opens with what sounds like a small plane and an announcer announcing that the Nook Inc. Getaway Package charter flight will soon be arriving at the deserted island. Fade to our very first glimpse of the game that oozes with tilt-shift charm of a villager strolling north along a western beach, fading again to a scene of the villager standing on some rocks, presumably on the same beach. The text on screen kinda suggests that the character has had enough of the hustle and bustle of city folk life, doesn't want to be mayor anymore and just wants a nice island getaway retreat instead. Something to point out here is the character's hairstyle. It's been confirmed via an interview with the lead developer that you'll be able to choose your appearance before you start, as well as new hairstyles and facial features being added, and also nothing will be locked by gender. Now into the gameplay. We start off with our character finishing setting up her tent, presumably after completing the in-game tutorials for this game's main gimmick, which we'll get to that shortly, trust me. Next up, she shakes a tree and branches fall out, something new to the series. Around her tent, you can see rocks that are obviously a staple in Animal Crossing now, but a lot of varied weeds, which also become important in the game. Now, here's the gimmick. She heads into Nook's tent and uses a crafting station to build herself a flimsy axe. That's right, using resources around the island, you can craft tools and furniture, or just outright buy them with bells. Some things to point out in this scene is Tom Nook's jacket, which we're assuming he'll put on in the winter or during the rain, that's hanging up at the back of the tent, and what I assume to be an ABD machine in the lower right corner of the tent. We then see the character around town using the axe she just crafted to chop wood from trees. There are 3 types of wood that I saw: normal wood, hardwood, and softwood. And then she obtains stone, an iron nugget, and some clay from the rock. And then the really good stuff, as our character throws down a regular item leaf that turns into a tree stump that she sits on. And around her you can see other various furniture items: a campfire, beach towel, radio, coconut drink, and her shoes she was wearing earlier. This is interesting as it seems like it's the actual shoes she was wearing and not just a generic placeholder model for a shoe item, if that makes any sense, but there's no way to tell yet if that's the case. Another cool thing about this scene is that it looks like the beach around the island is at the main island's ground level, without a steep slope to get there, just like Tortimer Island basically, so that's very nice. Time for our character to get to work, emerging from her tent as we get a time lapse of her clearing the area of weeds and crafting materials, placing some furniture down, including a cute coffee mug on the table, hinting that indoor furniture is placeable outside too, which I personally believe to be the case. I think that whatever furniture you can get your hands on can be either placed indoors or outside, which is awesome. She also plants some seedlings and waters a tree sapling there as well. Now remember this scene, as we're going to come back to it shortly, but now our character fishes in the absolutely beautiful looking river, catches a butterfly and runs from the rain, and just look at how nice the water looks with the raindrops splashing in it. It's amazing. You can also see a bucket left by the river, which I assume is either decorational, or the more likely story is that it has bait in it, as that's a confirmed feature that we'll get back to later. As the time quickly speeds to night, our villager camps by her fire with a cute firefly floating past. It's not just a little green orb anymore, which is cool. We then get a short scene packed with information. She uses a tool to pole vault across the river, so presumably there's no bridges on the desert island when you arrive, which would make sense, but during the scene you can also catch a glimpse of the background. There's some short cliffs with a waterfall and some cedar trees higher up. From what I can gather, based on more treehouse footage that we'll get to later on, tiered towns are back, but we'll get into that, like I say, a little bit later on. We then have an interesting fall scene with our character digging up a fully grown tree. I'm guessing this is how you remove trees now, since the axes seem like they're for gathering wood from trees and not outright chopping them down. but that's just speculation at the moment. We can also see Olivia sitting under a tree staring across the river, our first animal shown in the trailer. It seems like animals won't be restricted to just sitting on furniture items. We can also see some autumn leaves floating in the wind and some mushrooms under the tree. Cut to a winter scene of our character building a snowman, and we have Eunice and Freya talking together outside an animal's house. The giveaway here is the lack of a mailbox that a human villager's house would have. We can see some cedar trees around here too, as well as what looks like to be a regular cedar tree stump, so perhaps it still is possible to chop trees down leaving the stump, or maybe it's a placeable item. Your guess is as good as mine. We then get a look at another villager. It's Fuchsia. We're inside her house and it looks great. The inside is still a 6x6 area, but the half-tile furniture placement from Happy Home Designer has been confirmed to return for both indoors and outdoors. We can see some regular furniture as well, implying to me that crafting isn't going to be the sole way of obtaining furniture. Although you can also see what appears to be another crafting workbench to the left of this scene. Now the next scene is a big one that's sure to please a lot of fans. A path system is built into the game. Placeable with some type of trowel or float tool, it looks like there are at least 2 styles of path that you can use interchangeably. I bet you guys missed that, huh? Have you spotted it? The shape seems like it can be either a perfect square or have rounded corners. Just look at the path under the player's house. It's square at the back but rounded at the front. We'll see more examples of this later, trust me. Let's rewind a little bit and go back to the scene I told you to remember earlier of our character watering her new saplings. You can see that this is the exact same scene, but further on in time a little bit. The tent has been upgraded to a house, the barrel is in the same location, and the tree is fully grown with some budding flowers underneath it, confirming growth stages for flowers for the first time in Animal Crossing, other than in Pocket Camp, I guess. Back to the path scene, our character is wearing some overalls with a red flannel shirt. Now I think this is the same shirt we first saw her wearing, so perhaps we'll get lower body garments that also appear on your torso, if that makes sense. Either that or the red flannel shirt is just a part of the overall tops, and the shirt we saw her wearing first was just a coincidence. Other than that, we can see Hamlet watering some flowers behind an apple tree and a closely placed signpost. Look at how close they are, that's pretty cool. As well as a hammock in the lower corner and more outdoor furniture, including what appears to be a crafting station. Whether this is functional or not remains to be seen, but it would be nice not to have to walk to nooks every time you wanted to craft something. We then cut to a very short scene of our character plucking a flower from the plant, and you can see a tulip wreath has appeared on the villager's door that wasn't there the last time, as well as a picnic hamper on the table and Goldie perched on a swinging bench, and there's that rounded path below it again. After that, we get a huge scene. Our character walks away from her house wearing a tulip crown. We pass a bunch of furniture, what appears to be another animal house. Again, the lack of mailbox suggests that. As well as some fence posts which are seamless. There's no gaps between the fences, judging on the tiles, and this makes me really excited for town customization. We also catch a glimpse of some hybrid tulips, some pansies, and some other villagers gathering by the shore. Some are interacting with outdoor furniture, one is looking at his newly introduced Nook phone, and as the game title is revealed, we can see some other details amongst these villagers. Firstly, not only is 8-player multiplayer now supported, but it appears that you can now select your own skin tone, and also some of these characters have backpacks and handbags. Whether or not these are functional or aesthetic remains to be seen. The game's release date is then revealed, and it's a sore spot for a lot of fans, I know, March 20th, 2020. It's 9 months off, but personally, I think that if they need the extra time to make a fantastic game, then it will definitely be worth the wait. Now onto some other features that have been confirmed via interviews with the lead developer, starting with the one that may disappoint fans who like to play over multiple towns. The game will feature one island per Switch console, unlike how we all assumed that it will be an island per user profile, what with other games giving the Switch profiles their own save data. A character that you didn't see in the trailer is confirmed to return. Isabelle will come to your island after you decide to upgrade your tent to a house, but it's also been said that you're given the option on whether you want to upgrade or not. So I'm looking forward to seeing some cool island campsites out there. There is going to be no direct connectivity between Pocket Camp and New Horizons, which personally I'm happy about because I didn't get into Pocket Camp too much, but there will be collaborative items between the two titles. When you first arrive, there will be 2 or so random islanders already living here, as they've also invested in the Getaway package by Nook Inc. We've received confirmation that before they place their homes, they will check with the player if it's okay to do so. Gone are the days of plot resetting, thank Nook. You're able to move them wherever you see fit. The islanders that move onto the island can't be forced off. After all, they're paying for the same package too, but they may leave on their own eventually. There will be a system whereby you can invite animals to your island, but we don't know anything about that just yet. I'm assuming Amiibo card support. Timmy, Tommy, and Tom Nook will all be there from the start, and the animals are also in debt to Nook for providing these services. But it makes sense. The animals can also upgrade their tent to a house at their own rate, and the bells that Tom Nook gathers from this business venture, either from the player or from animals, actually goes back into the community via a feature called Resident Services. Now, like I said, there was also a Treehouse live segment after the direct that was just under half an hour of pure gameplay, and I haven't seen a lot of people talk about this, so let's have a look, because it's thoroughly worth watching, and I'll link to it in the description below if you want to watch, but I'm going to go over some of the main points I took from it. Just be aware that this is a very, very early tech demo, so some parts of it might not be final. So one of the first things that we see after the player emerges from her tent that's placed on the beach, which is awesome, by the way, right on the sand, is the in-game map. A few things to note here: there only appears to be one player tent, which kind of contradicts what we see later on, but we'll get to that, trust me, we will. We see 2 tents that are presumably for animals since their style is a little bit different. The Nook logo on the map for Nook's tent, where we saw the crafting in the trailer, and a larger aeroplane logo, which I'm assuming is the place you arrive, and also leave for multiplayer or traveling in general. On the map you can also see some lighter green, which is almost definitely the second tier to the island. There doesn't seem to be a way to get up and down from there just yet, so maybe that's another thing which you have to craft. We can also see some even lighter green, which I'm guessing is going to be higher land still, that's probably inaccessible. But there are a few breaks in the super light green area, so I'm not too sure about that. It looks as though the northernmost area of the island is going to be craggy rocks or cliffs, but the other 3 sides of the town are no longer sheer cliffs, which is awesome. We then head inside the tent, where we see the furniture that Nook gives us, and we're told that the half-grid system from Happy Home Designer is returning, which is awesome. We then see the player pick up the camping cotton radio from inside the tent and head outside. There's a brief look at the new inventory system, which contains an increased 20 slots as opposed to 16, and also a stack of 5 seed bags. That's right, picking up the same item auto stacks them now, a great quality of life feature there. There are 2 options shown from the camping cot. Drop items is what we assume to be the leaf item for emptying your inventory or sharing with others. And place item, which as you can see, decorates the outside of your town. There's a look at the Nook phone, which currently has 5 options: camera, Nook miles, DIY recipes, map, and Cool Islander. We get to see all of these in action, starting with the recipes. We get a look at some of the craftable items, from tools to furniture. The one that interests me is the log bench, which is crafted and then used later on in the treehouse. It closely resembles the log table that we saw in the trailer that had the coffee mug and picnic hamper on. So perhaps these logs will also act as tables and benches at the same time, which would be great. As the player gathers materials, it highlights one of my main concerns: the map size. In just a few steps, the character walks to the 2 villager tents that we can see on the map, as well as the area where Nook's is situated. I'm hoping this is just part of the tech demo, but considering that it's later revealed that up to 8 human characters can live on the island, and presumably a number of animals too, the map seems very small and, quite frankly, unaccommodating. A cool thing that they explain is that the globe's hemispheres are now represented in New Horizons, meaning that places like Australia and New Zealand, who experience winter during July, can also do the same in-game now if they choose. You can select either Northern or Southern Hemisphere, which is pretty cool. There's a large muddy area in the lower center of the island where you'll find Nook's tent perched in the corner, as well as the bulletin board. There's lots of space here for future upgrades, so I'm hoping to see maybe events or other buildings appearing here, as well as nooks upgrading as well. We get a little bit of a crafting demo, followed by showing off how you can sell items to Timmy, as well as the ability to purchase items from him too. I'm a little bit disappointed that we can't see the furniture items physically in the store now, but again, early days, may change, there could be upgrades and whatnot, we'll see. We get a very brief look at Nook Miles, that is similar to earning air miles in real life. You get miles based off completing in-game tasks, kind of like the Meow coupons in New Leaf, but it's currently unknown how they're used. My bet is on town or island upgrades. They then show off a brand new feature to Animal Crossing, single console co-op. By using the Cool Islander app on your Nook phone, you can call another human resident to the island and play alongside them. This unfortunately isn't split screen. The screen just follows the lead character and the other has to stay on the screen, but you can play with up to 4 people this way. And this is what confuses me about the map. There's no other player tent. So again, perhaps this was just a tech demo feature and they just didn't put a second tent down, but definitely an odd thing that I noticed for sure. Now as Fuchsia walks by holding a stack of wood under her arm, which is adorable by the way, they show off the Change Leader feature. Since only the leader's inventory is accessible during single console multiplayer, you can change the leader to access each other's items to help build and craft together without needing to completely reload the game. They then show off the camera app on the Nook phone, which allows you to zoom, add filters, etc. There's a small spout of water coming from the sand nearby. Now this is a new feature, clams that can be used as fishing bait. How the bait affects fishing yet is unknown. The text box says that you have an idea for a new DIY recipe. It's then explained that you can get new recipes when you acquire a new item, you can purchase recipes, or they can actually be suggested by animals too, kind of like public works projects in the old game. There's then a very brief glimpse at the aeroplane area of the island. You can't see much, but there's a jetty looking area with a baby blue and white structure, which could potentially be the wing of the plane that you use for travel, as well as a turquoise coloured building. The Treehouse Live then wraps up with the developers thanking fans for their patience in waiting for the game to release on March 20th next year. And that's it, that's everything I could spot in both the trailer and the Treehouse Live that I felt was worth discussing, but feel free to place a comment down below with your thoughts and ideas. Again, the full Treehouse Live is well worth a watch and listen, but I've tried to sum it up the best I can. I can't wait to get my hands on this game and play alongside you guys through my Twitch live streams as well as here on YouTube. I have big plans for when this game comes out, so stay tuned, and I just wanted to end things off here by thanking you all very much for watching, and I look forward to seeing what this game has in store.